Let's hope you cannot hear the construction happening in the background. Hello everyone, welcome back. Thanks for being here. Today we're going to be talking about the YA books coming out in April that sound cool. I do this every month where I talk about the books coming out from the YA Goodreads list, because Goodreads makes a list every single year about all the books coming out in the months ahead, and I go through it and I talk to you about the books that I like and what sound cool, and we have a grand old time. I like these videos. I also changed my ring lighting to cool. Think it looked kind of freaky. I'm not used to the non-warm tone, but let me know what you think. Anyway, we're gonna I don't know why I just did that. We're gonna get into it. I always look at the synopses because I cannot print or memorize them. So if I'm looking this way or not at you directly, I'm looking at the synopsis for a book, and I apologize, but bitch doesn't have enough brain power to memorize 56 synopses, okay? Like, I can't. Okay, so I think that we have like 30 books to talk about today. There's a lot. April is a pretty big month for releases, and there's also a few sequels coming out. So I obviously don't include every single book in this video because there's just too much to talk about, so I will always leave the Goodreads link down below so you can look at it yourself and make your own decisions. And yeah, so without further ado, we're gonna get into it. So first we have Witches Steeped in Gold by Sienna Smart. This is a new series coming out. The cover is beautiful. Love that. And here is the synopsis for that book. It is a YA fantasy series. Araya has spent her life in a cell, but every day brings her closer to freedom and vengeance. Jasmine is the queen's daughter, but unlike her sister before her, she has no intention of dying to strengthen her mother's power. Sworn enemies, these two witches enter a precarious alliance to take down a mutual threat. But power is intoxicating, revenge is a bloody pursuit, and nothing is certain, except the lengths they will go to win this game. This is a Jamaican-inspired fantasy debut. I am so excited. I have not read a Jamaican fantasy book before, and I'm so excited to read it. And the cover is just gorgeous too. And I love, like, enemies to friends, or even possibly enemies to lovers, please. I'm hoping. I love that. Hopefully it's sapphic. I'm just so excited for this book. And that is coming out on, let me look at the date, April 20th. 420. Okay. Next we have Mina and the Undead by Amy McCall. This is coming out on April 1st. And this is a fantasy standalone, I think. So the synopsis goes, 17-year-old Mina from England arrives in New Orleans to visit her estranged sister Libby. After growing up in Whitby, the town that inspired Dracula, Mina loves nothing more than a creepy horror movie. Love vampires. She can't wait to explore the city's deepest secrets, vampire tours, seedy bars, spooky cemeteries, and local disturbing myths. And it gets even better when Mina lands a part-time job at a horror movie mansion and meets Jared, Libby's gorgeous housemate, co-worker, and fellow horror enthusiast. But the perfect summer bliss is broken when, while exploring the mansion, Mina stumbles upon the body of a girl with puncture marks on her neck, clutching a lock of hair that suspiciously resembles Libby's. Someone is replicating some New Orleans' most brutal supernatural killings. Mina must discover the truth and prove her sister's innocence before she becomes a victim of another myth. I don't know about you, but that literally sounds so good. Anything with vampires I'm immediately going to love. It's just something that I just always want to read no matter what, even if it doesn't even sound interesting in the first place. But first of all, the setting, New Orleans. One of my favorite settings to read about in books. Vampires. Something else I really, really love. And also like a mystery and like supernatural stuff. Love it. This sounds perfect for me, and I am so excited for this book to come out. Okay, so next is Blessed Monsters by Emily A. Duncan. This is the third and final book in the Something Dark and Holy trilogy, which is the first book being Wicked Saints. That was a very popular book when it came out because of Al Crate and everything else. It came out as one of their special editions. And it's coming out on April 6th, and it's about a girl named, what is her name? I have not read that book in a long time, and I haven't even gotten to the second book yet, so I'm like ready to read this book. Okay, so it says, let me find out what her name is first. It doesn't say what her name is in the synopsis. I think her name is Nadia. I wish I could get her book out. I think her name is Nadia, and she is living in a world between, she's living in a country where it's a very religious world, and Nadia is a person who lives in like a monastery, and she can have the power to use every single god's powers, which is she's the only one to ever do so. And the opposing country uses blood magic, which is like very frowned upon in Nadia's country because it's like religion versus like blood magic, and they hate each other and they are at war. and Nadia ends up getting attacked at her monastery and she has to escape, and she comes around like a group of people that she ends up forging an alliance with to go and infiltrate the blood magic's kingdom. There she meets a boy named Malachi's, and he is very dark, and you learn a lot about him, and he's kind of a monster himself, and yeah. The first book was literally so good. Like, I loved Wicked Saints so much, and I wish that I had like had gotten to Ruthless Gods soon, but not yet. But now the third book's coming out, and I am not ready for it to be over, but I'm also so excited because the first book ended on a cliffhanger, and there's just so many unanswered questions, and I'm just so excited for the book to come out, and I think it's such a good series. A lot of mixed reviews though, so I know that I'm probably on the lower majority of liking the series, but that's fine. I love it. I don't regret loving it. And the third book, sorry to see the date, the third book's coming out on April 6th, if I hadn't said that already. Okay, next is These Feathered Flames by Alexandra O'Very. This is coming out on 4/20. I'm sorry, I'm never gonna stop saying that because it's just funny to me. Okay, so it says, a queer retelling of The Firebird, which is a Russian folktale. When two heirs are born in Turin, their fates are decided at a young age. While Izaveta remained at court to learn the skills she needed as a future queen, Asaya was taken away to train with her aunt. The mysterious Firebird, who ensured magic remained balanced in the realm. But before Asaya's training is completed, the ancient power blooms inside her, which can mean only one thing: the queen is dead, and a new ruler must be crowned. As the princesses come to understand everything their roles entail, they'll discover who they can trust, who they can love, and who killed their mother. This literally sounds so good. Like, I don't know. It's gonna be a duology, I think. Yes, I think it's gonna be a duology, coming out in 4/20. And I'm just so excited. I really love books that have Russian folklore because it's something that I'm always interested in, because Russia is like a very like interesting country to me, and like their lore and their everything. Like, I just like it a lot. It probably sounded so stupid that I just said that. I am very interested in Russian folklore is what I should have said and left it at that, but there again I go and embellish everything and then make an ass out of myself. I apologize. I like Russian folklore. And it sounds so cool. It's something that I really like, and also I just like everything. It's like queer and it's magic and it's everything that I want. Also the cover is gorgeous. I love it, and it's kind of giving me like Crown of Feathers vibes, and I love Crown of Feathers, so that's awesome. Next is probably something that I'm most excited for, which is The Forest of Stolen Girls by June Her. June Her wrote, what is that horror book that she wrote? The Silence of Bones, and I have not read that yet, but it's on my want to read list, and she seems like a really cool author, and that cover is absolutely gorgeous. This is also coming out in 4/20, and it says, Juani's family has never been the same since she and her younger sister went missing and were later found unconscious in the forest near a gruesome crime scene. The only thing they remember, their captor wore a painted white mask. To escape the haunting memories of this incident, the family flees their hometown. Years later, Detective Min, Juani's father, learns that 13 girls have recently disappeared under similar circumstances, and so he returns to their hometown to investigate, only to vanish as well. Determined to find her father and solve that case that tore the family apart, Juani returns home to pick up the trail. As she digs into the secrets of the small village and reconnects with her now estranged sister, Juani comes to realize that the answer lies within her own buried memories of what happened in the forest all those years ago. That sounds so good. I'm gonna be so repetitive in this video because it just, everything sounds so good to me, but I'm just so excited for new releases, and it just is one of those releases that sounds like I'm gonna love it no matter what. I love how June Her always has Asian rep in her books, and there's always the main character is Asian, and I love that. I think that we need more representation in books. My cat is coming. She has to make an appearance in every single video for some reason. Come here. You're just gonna get grabbed because you're slow. Okay. And it just sounds really good. I don't know, like, I love mysteries like that where it's not like thriller, it's just kind of like slow burn, like mystery, and like coming back years later to find out what happened, and it just sounds interesting to me. Say hi to the people. Next we have The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni, and this is being published on April 13th, and this is going to be a trilogy. First book in a fantasy trilogy, and it's about, and synopsis says, 17-year-old Kiva Meriden has spent the last 10 years fighting for survival in the notorious death prison, Zalandov, working as a prison healer. When the rebel queen is captured, Kiva is charged with keeping the terminally ill woman alive long enough for her to undergo the trial by ordeal, a series of elemental challenges against the torments of air, fire, water, and earth, assigned to only the most dangerous of criminals. Then a coded message from Kiva's family arrives containing a single order: don't let her die, we are coming. Aware that the trials will kill the sickly queen, Kiva risks her own life to volunteer in her place. If she succeeds, both she and the queen will be granted their freedom, but no one has ever survived. With an incurable plague sweeping Zalandov, a mysterious new inmate fighting for Kiva's heart, and a prison rebellion brewing, Kiva can't escape the terrible feeling that her trials have only just begun. First of all, the cover. I love it, and this sounds so cool. I like books set in like prisons or like weird like different types of... What is wrong with you? Don't yell at me. I like books with that kind of trope where it's like set in a prison or like how you have to keep a certain person alive and the trial aspect. I love books like that. I love life or death games. But yeah, that sounds so good and I'm so ready for it to come out. Okay, next we have Fairy Fairy Quite Contrary by Ellie Aiden. And this book's kind of like difficult, or I'm a bit confused because the synopsis goes off of the fact as if it's like a series, but then I look at the Goodreads and it's not a part of a series, so I don't know if I'm messing something up or if it actually is a part of a series. The synopsis says, for those of you just joining us, the king is dead and I'm basically queen. I say basically because there's still the pesky little matter of me needing to be crowned. And then merge with the magic of the fae. No big deal, right? Wrong. There's just one problem. The Unseelie are still in control of the capital and I have to be crowned inside the palace. So basically we're utterly screwed. Elle's boys, along with Prince Lucas, narrowly escaped the battle of the Summer Court and now they're in hiding. Again and again. And when infighting gets in the way of planning their next move, Elle and her boys decide to bail. They don't get far enough before they're reunited with the very people they set off to find. And now that they finally know their next move, they set off on an epic trek to the far side of Fae to meet a king no one has ever heard of. The bad news is Elle isn't sure if he's a friend or foe. Join Elle and her sex slaves as they take their next step in their fairy awesome journey. A Fairy Awesome series is a fantasy reverse harem where Elle collects men and fairies as the series progresses. Is it a part of a series or is it not? Is it the first book? Is it the second book? I gotta look. Because I don't know. Okay, no, it is a part of a series. I'm just an idiot. But it did sound interesting, so I may read the series. But I haven't read any other parts of the series yet, so I'll just screenshot the first book so that I have it to put on my Amazon wishlist. Oops. Okay. Next we have Between Perfect and Real by Ray Stoev, and this is being published on April 27th, and it is a YA contemporary book, and it says it's about a trans boy finding his voice and himself. So it says, Dean Foster knows he's a trans guy. He's watched enough YouTube videos to find and done enough questioning to be sure. But everyone at his high school thinks he's a lesbian, including his girlfriend Zoe, and his theater director who just cast him as a non-traditional Romeo. He wonders if maybe it'd be easier to wait until college to come out. But as he plays Romeo as every day in rehearsals, Dean realizes that he wants everyone to see him as he really is now, not just on the stage, but everywhere in his life. Dean knows what he needs to do, but can playing a role help Dean be his true self? So, something's gonna be like very hard-hitting. I have not read a lot of trans representation in books, so it's something that I want to get more into. I think that it's important and it would really enlighten me a lot as I am a cis woman. So okay, so next we have The Serpent's Curse by Lisa Maxwell. This is the third and last book in the Last Magician series that's being published on April 13th. And as I cannot summarize the... Oh wait, no, it's gonna be one more book, so it's the second to last book. So I'll summarize the first book for you because that'd be spoilers, right? So it says, stop the magician, steal the book, save the future. In modern day New York, magic is all but extinct. The remaining few who have an affinity for magic, the magus, living in the shadows, hiding who they are. Any magus who enters Manhattan becomes trapped by the brink, a dark energy barrier that confines them to the island. Crossing it means losing their power and often their lives. Esta is a talented thief, and she's been raised to steal magical artifacts from the sinister order that created the brink. With her innate ability to manipulate time, Esta can pilfer from the past, collecting these artifacts before the order even realizes that she's there. And all of Esta's training has been for one final job, traveling back to 1902 to steal an ancient book containing the secrets of the order and the brink, before the magician can destroy it and doom the mages to a hopeless future. But old New York is a dangerous world ruled by ruthless gangs and secret societies, a world where the very air crackles with magic. Nothing is as it seems, including the magician himself. And for Esta to save her future, she may have to betray everyone in the past. So I have the first book. Really want to read it. Have not read it yet. But I'm excited. It sounds really good, and that's all I have to say. I mean, the books keep coming out, and I'm not keeping up with them. Sucks, but that's my life and I'm still excited nonetheless. Okay, next we have Natural Born by Morgan Perryman. This is being published on April 6th, and this is going to be a fantasy standalone, I think it's gonna be fantasy standalone. So it says, all 16-year-old Quid wants to live a normal life, but it's almost impossible when she keeps a secret that could change the world. With every emotion, she alters the environment around her. She helps the withering plants grow, animals flock to her for help, the wind whirls if she gets too excited, the rain pours when she is sad, and nature responds to her every mood. Quid can't just be a teenager, go to high school, and make friends. Her influence fries every computer and blows the lights out when she gets too excited or upset. She can never lose control. How could she live life where she's never allowed to feel joy, sorrow, or even love? Meanwhile, something or someone is spraying toxic contamination that threatens to decimate both the forest and farmland. On a summer trip, Quid meets a strange group that call themselves the Believers. They claim they want to help the land and stop the threat, but what lengths are they willing to go to? As the poison in the land spreads, she wonders if she is the one destined to defeat it. If she does, will it cost her her secret, and how long will it be before it's all too much for her to control? This sounds so interesting. I love environmental friendly books or environmentalist books, and like, it just sounds so good. People who literally rev their engines. The speed limit in my neighborhood is like literally 10 miles an hour, so the fact that they had to rev their engine just to make it... I hate people so much. I literally hate car people so much. Okay, so yeah, it sounds really good. I really like the whole nature element in books because I'm like, I love nature, I love the environment, so I'm just excited. And I like the whole idea of like her like having to be like kind of like the chosen one but also doesn't know she's the chosen one. I like that a lot, so I'm just excited for it. I'm just excited. Next we have Zara Hossein Is Here by Sabina Collins, being published on April 6th, and this is a YA contemporary book. And it says, Zara's family has waited for years for the visa process to be finalized so they can finally become US citizens. But it only takes one moment for that dream to come crashing down around them. 17-year-old Pakistani immigrant Zara Hossein has been leading a fairly typical life in Corpus Christi, Texas, since her family moved here from there for her father to work as a pediatrician. While dealing with the Islamophobia that she faces at school, her has to lay low to try not to stir up any trouble and jeopardize her family's dependent visa status while they await their green card approval. But one day, her tormentor, star football player Tara Benson, takes things too far, leaving a threatening note in her locker and gets suspended. As an act of revenge against her for speaking out, Tyler and his friends vandalize Zara's house with racist graffiti, leading to a violent crime that puts Zara's entire future at risk. Now she must pay the ultimate price to between finding staying in the only place she ever called home or losing the life she loves and everyone in it. Sounds like it's gonna be really upsetting. It sounds like it's gonna be very hard-hitting, which is the only YA contemporary that I really like nowadays, and I think that it's gonna be an important book to read as a white person because of the fact that it talks about immigrancy and having to deal with constant prejudice and racism against you. And I just feel like I need to read it, and also it sounds really good too, so I'm excited. Next is Slingshot by Mercedes Helnwin. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's being published on April 27th, and this is a contemporary, I think, again. Grace Wells had resigned herself to the particular loneliness of being 15 and stuck at a third-tier boarding school in the swamps of Florida. That first line made me want to read it, and you know why, because if you know me, then you know that I love boarding school books, so anything with boarding school I'm going to want to read. That's all that I had to read in order to want to read it, because I just love books set at boarding schools. I don't know why. I felt like I should have gone to a boarding school. I don't know. But it says, when she accidentally saves a new kid in her classroom being beat up. With a single aim of a slingshot, the monotonous mathematics of her life are obliterated forever, because now there's a boy she never asked for. Wade Schofield. With Wade, Grace discovers a new way to exist. School rules are optional. Life is bizarrely perfect. And conversations about wormholes can lead to make-out sessions that disrupt any logical stream of thoughts. So why does Grace crush Wade's heart into a million tiny pieces? And what are her options when she finally realizes that 1, the universe isn't revolved around her, and 2, Wade has been hiding a dark secret? Is Grace the only person unhinged enough to save him? Yeah, I am excited, honestly, mostly because of the boarding school, but also I think that I like the fact that the main character does, like, a bad thing to the love interest, and it's not just perfect, and it talks about, like, teenage romance and how it's, like, she doesn't really know why she broke up with him, but she does, and I feel like it's not talked about enough in YA contemporary books, because it happens. Like, sometimes you don't know why. Like, you just do stupid shit when you're a teenager, and, like, having everything be perfect but also breaking someone's heart can easily happen to anyone. So I feel like it's a good thing to talk about, and like it's important to like read about, especially when you're younger too. So yeah. Next we have Occulta by Maya Montaigne. This is the second book in the A Forgery of Magic trilogy, or is it trilogy? It's going to be a trilogy. And this is a sequel to Nocturna, which was a Alcrate book, I think. So That's probably where you heard it from. It's going to be coming out on April 6th. And the first book, since I can't give you the synopsis for the second book, the first book is about, so it says, to Finn Voy, magic is two things: a knife to hold under the chin of anyone who crosses her, and a disguise she shrugs on as easily as others pull on cloaks. As a talented face shifter, it's been years since Finn has seen her own face. And that's exactly how she likes it. But when Finn gets caught by a powerful mobster, she's forced into an impossible mission: steal a legendary treasure from Castellan's royal palace or be stripped of her own magic forever. After the murder of his older brother, Prince Alfair is the first in line for the Castellan throne. But Alfie can't help but feel that he will never live up to his brother's legacy. Riddled with grief, Alfie is obsessed with finding a way to bring his brother back, even if it means dabbling in forbidden magic. But when Finn and Alfie's fates collide, they accidentally unlock a terrible ancient power which, if not contained, will devour the world. And with Castellan's fate in their hands, Alfie and Finn must race to vanquish what they have unleashed, even if it means facing the deepest darkness in their past. I have not read the first book yet. I have it. I bought it recently. I will hopefully get to it soon, but it sounds so good. I have never read a book with someone who can face shift. That's gonna be interesting. And also, like, I love how the trope where two characters have like really shitty things going on, but they come together and just think even more shitty, and then they have to fix it. It's just always interesting to me. It always ends up being like a funny time, so I'm excited for that. Next we have Pride and Premeditation by Tirzah Price. This is being published on April 6th. It's gonna be the first book in a Jane Austen murder mystery series. I have not read Pride and Prejudice. I'm hoping that this book makes you want to read that book, because classics scare the absolute shit out of me. So hopefully this will make you want to read it. So it says, when a scandalous murder shocks London high society, 17-year-old aspiring lawyer Lizzie Bennet seizes the opportunity to prove herself. Despite the interference of Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy, the stirring young heir to the prestigious firm Pemberley Associates. Convinced the authorities have imprisoned the wrong person, Lizzie vows to solve the murder on her own. But as the case and her feelings for Darcy become more complicated, Lizzie discovers that her dream job can make her happy, but it could also get her killed. So I have no idea how, like, similar that is to Pride and Prejudice. I know that the names are the same of the characters. I know that Darcy is like a character. I know that Lizzie is one too. At least I think Lizzie is one too. I know that Darcy is one for sure. But yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting, and I want to be that kind of girl that can easily read a classic and be like, that's good, I love that, but I'm just not. So hopefully this will help me like want to read my first ever Jane Austen book. Okay, next we have Dream Country by Ashay Brown. It's being published on April 27th, and it's a fantasy standalone, I believe. So it's about the dysfunctional triplet gods of sleep, dreams, and nightmares are kept separate by the deadly gates of horn and ivory. Only one fact keeps them tightly bound. Each of them is a suspect in their mother's murder. Their knife-edge feud worsens when a mortal enters the world with astounding abilities that threaten to change the game for them all. That's a very short synopsis, but it's sounded really cool because of the fact that they're all like sisters of sleep gods, or what is it? Sleep, dreams, and nightmares. That just sounds so interesting. Honestly, that's what pulled me into that book. I thought that it was gonna be really good, so I'm excited for that. I don't really care about the whole like mystery aspect, but when it says sleep, dreams, and nightmares, I was like instant want to read. Instant. Also, my girl Becca in the books wants to read that book, and me and Becca have such similar reading like taste. It's scary. So everything she wants to read, I'm like, Becca, I'm with you on that. Like, I want to read it too. So that was like another reason why I wanted to read it, I think. Next we have Lycanthropy and Other Illnesses by Kristen O'Neill. It's being published on April 27th. This is a fantasy standalone, I believe. And it says, Priya worked hard to pursue her pre-med dreams at Stanford, but a diagnosis of chronic Lyme disease during her sophomore year sends her back to her loving but overbearing family in New Jersey, and leaves her wondering if she'll ever be able to return to the way things were. Thankfully, she has her online pal, Bridget, and the rest of the members of the Oof Ouch My Bones, a virtual support group that meets on Discord to crack jokes and vent about their own chronic illnesses. When Bridget suddenly goes offline, Priya does something out of character. She steals the family car and drives to Pennsylvania to check on Bridget. Priya isn't sure what to expect, but it isn't the horrifying creature that's shut in the basement. With Bridget nowhere to be found, Priya begins to puzzle together an impossible but obvious truth. The creature might be a werewolf, and the werewolf might be Bridget. As Bridget's unique condition worsens, their friendship will be deepened and challenged in unexpected ways, forcing them to reckon with their own ideas of what it means to be normal. That sounds so cute. I haven't read a book really about chronic illness rep. Something I want to learn more about, something I want to get into. Love that. And also the fact that it's involving werewolves. Supernatural stuff. Love it. Cannot wait to read it. Okay, next we have Guiding Gaia by Tish Thar. This is coming out on 4/20, and it is a fantasy standalone, and it's about Gaia. And it says, she woke to save us, but it already may be too late. The world is in chaos, stars are falling from the sky, floods, hurricanes, and fires rage across the land, and the only being strong enough to stop it is stuck in a teenage form again. Reborn, Gaia has come to Earth to battle through the strife and discover the world is worth saving. Tasked with guiding her, it falls to me to help her weather the storms and hopefully find a place where she can be at peace. But time is running out and her patience is waning. Now I fear if the human race doesn't destroy the world, she will. Are you kidding me? That literally sounds so cool. Gaia is one of my favorite, like, Greek mythology. She's a Titan, but like my favorite Greek mythology kind of people. This sounds literally so good. I cannot wait to read this book. I am so excited to read it. Next we have Everyone Dies Famous in a Small Town by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. Is being published on April 1st, and it is a YA contemporary mystery, I think. And it says, okay, no, so it's going to be an anthology. I apologize. So it's a lyrical and heartfelt collection by an award-winning writer that connects the lives of young people from small towns in Alaska and the American West. Each story is unique yet universal. In this book, the impact of a wildfire, a wayward priest, or a mysterious disappearance ricochet across communities, threading through stories. Here, ordinary actions such as ice skating or going to church reveal hidden truths. One choice threatens a lifelong friendship. Siblings save each other. Rescue and second chances are possible, and so is revenge. On the surface, it seems that nothing ever happens in small towns, but Bonnie Sue Hitchcock shows that underneath the surface, teenagers live lives blaze with fury, with secrets, and with love so strong it burns a path to the future. I want to get more into anthology reading because it just seems like it's very cool, and I like how it's all going to intertwine, and I love small town stories a lot, so I am excited. Okay, next we have Kisses and Croissants by Anne Sophie Giuano, and it's being published on April 6th. I think this is a YA contemporary book. And it says, as sweet as a macaron from La Durée, with writing as crisp as a freshly baked baguette, this romantic novel set in Paris about an American ballerina and a charming French boy is parfait for fans of American Girls and Netflix's To All the Boys I've Loved Before. 17-year-old Mia, an American girl in an elite summer ballet program, has 6 weeks to achieve her dreams. To snag an audition with one of the world's best ballet companies, but there's more to Paris than ballet, especially when a charming French boy, Louis, wants to be her tour guide. And the pair discover the city has a few mysteries up its sleeve. Honestly, this wouldn't have sounded cool to me if it was set in America. The fact that it's set in Paris, I love it. I love Paris set books. Also the fact that she's away from home and like it's ballet. I love ballet. I watched the Disney documentary, the ballet one. Loved it. I am so excited to read that book. It sounds going to be so cute, and I'm just excited because I want to go to Paris literally so badly. So next we have Summer Between Bitter and Sweet by Lakin Zia Kemp. This is being published on April 6th, and this is a YA, I think, hard-hitting contemporary book, and it says, I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter meets Emergency Contact. That sounds amazing. So it says, as an aspiring pastry chef, Penelope Prado has always dreamed of opening her own pasteleria next to her father's restaurant, Nachos Tacos. But her mom and dad have different plans, leaving Pen to choose between disappointing her traditional Mexican-American parents or following her own path. When she confesses the secret she's been keeping, her world is sent into a tailspin. But then she meets a cute new hire at Nachos who sees through her hard exterior and asks the question she's been too afraid to ask herself. Xander Amaro has been searching for home since he was a little boy. For him, a job at Nachos is an opportunity for just that. A chance at normal life. To settle in at his abuelos and to find the father left him behind, but when both the restaurant and Xander's immigrant status are threatened, he will do whatever it takes to protect his new family and himself. Together, Penn and Xander must navigate first love and discovering where they belong, both within their families and their fiercely loyal Chicano community, in order to see the place that they call home. This sounds so good. It sounds like it's going to be very similar to With Fire on High, which I ended up loving. I'm excited to see more about like Mexican Americans and being the Chicano and being in the part of the Chicanx community, and I'm just so excited to read that book. Next we have Fade into the Bright by Jessica Kusit Edding and Alicia Schwartz. This is being published on April 27th. I think this is a YA contemporary as well. And it says, Abby needs to escape a life that she no longer recognizes as her own. Her old life, the one where she was a high school volleyball star with a textbook perfect future, has been ripped away. Abby and her sister Brooke received a letter from their estranged dad informing them that he has Huntington's disease, a fatal degenerative disorder that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. And when the sisters agreed to genetic testing, one of them tests positive. Fleeing to Catalina Island for the summer, Abby is relieved to be in a place where no one knows her tragic history. But when she meets aspiring documentary filmmaker Ben, tall, outdoorsy, and easygoing, with eyes that don't miss a thing, she's thrown off her game. Ben's the kind of guy who loves to figure out people's stories. What if he learns hers? Once again, with the chronic illness trope that I want to learn more about, I want to learn more about it. I've never read a book that actually involved Huntington's disease, so that's something that really interests me. And also Canada Island is a very pretty place. I've always wanted to go there. My grandpa lives like right by there because he lives in like Oxnard, and it takes like a 5-hour, like not even like maybe like a 2-hour boat ride just to get there, and I haven't gone yet. So I want to read more about Canada Island because I want to go there so bad. But yeah. And last but not least, we have Between the Bliss and Me by Lizzie Mason's being published on April 6th. Once again, with being a YA contemporary book, and it says, when 18-year-old Sydney decides to attend NYU, her overprotective mom is devastated. Her decision means that she won't be commuting to Rutgers like her mom, and she'll be living in the big city instead. It also means that she'll be close to off-limits Grayson, who is going to Juilliard. He's a guitar prodigy, and he very much isn't single. But while she dreams of her new life, Sydney discovers a world-changing truth about her father, that who left when she was little due to a drug addiction. That he has schizophrenia and is currently living on the streets of New York. She seizes the opportunity to get to know him, to understand who he is, and learn what may lie in store for her if she too is diagnosed. Even as she continues to fall for Grace, and Sydney is faced with a difficult decision. Should she stay close to home to her mother so she can watch over her, or follow a desire to take risks and discover her true self? This sounds like it's going to be very hard-hitting. I've never read a book where the parent was homeless in the book due to mental illness. I think it sounds very interesting, also very important to read about, and I'm just excited to read that book. I think it's going to be really good, and yeah, that's it. That's all the books I want to read, or the books coming out is what I want to read. It was a lot, I know, I'm sorry, but hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.